What's up, everybody? I'm Wrath, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to create a farm in the Create mod. Before we get started, I'm going to walk you through how each of these farms work, and I'm going to have everything timestamped down below. So if you want to skip ahead to the farm that you want and only watch that tutorial, you can absolutely do that. So this first farm we have is what I call the rail method. It works off of a series of rails, as you can see here, and everything is assembled by a cart assembler. If you guys have seen my sugarcane farm tutorial or my bamboo farm tutorial, this works the same exact way. This next farm is a rotational farm. It works off of mechanical bearings and is super effective and very easy to AFK and uses the least amount of resources out of all the farms I show you. Now, this one is the most difficult. It takes up the most amount of resources, but it looks cool and you get to use a windmill. The way this one works is off of a mechanical sticky piston, and it pushes everything there and back. It requires redstone, but again, we'll get to that later on in the video. Before we get started, if you guys could please drop a like down there, subscribe to the channel, I would very much appreciate that. Now, to make this exactly the way I did it, this is all the material that you're going to need. The only thing that we have too much of are going to be these seeds, but as long as you have some sort of seed, this is going to work, and you're going to need about 2 stacks of each seed. The first thing you're going to do is build a dirt square that's 11 by 11 wide. You're going to fill it full of dirt, and then once you're done with that, you're going to surround the outside with a block of your choice. It can be whatever you want, and then you're also going to be putting stairs on each of these corners. So starting from the corner, you're going to count 3 blocks, 1, 2, 3, and then place a stair, and then same thing from this corner, 1, 2, 3, stair, 1, 2, 3, stair, 1, 2, 3, stair, etc. Once you've done that, you're going to go to the middle right here. You're going to knock out that middle block, and then you're going to start filling that middle block with water as well as all of these stairs. From there, you're going to plow the land. And then once you're done plowing, you're going to plant your seeds. Once we have everything planted, it's time to start building our rail system. First thing you're going to want to do is pick a corner. Doesn't matter which corner. I'm going to be using this one. You're going to place a controller rail down, a cart assembler on top of that, and then a minecart underneath that. Next up, we're going to be placing our temporary blocks. So we're going to be placing stone for this one. And we're going to be making sure that we super glue everything together. Now, one thing you should know is that a lot of people use linear chassis. Linear chassis take up a lot of resources. This will do the same exact thing, and you don't have to use a linear chassis. Once we have our block down, we should have 7 going across, and that includes the one on top of the minecart. Next up, we're going to super glue each of our harvesters on. And once we've done that, we are going to super glue our chest on the back of it. The last thing we need to do for this bit is super glue our portable storage interface on top of that. And the next up, we're going to create our pathway. Now, I'm going to be using redstone blocks. You don't have to use redstone blocks, especially if it's early game. You can definitely use levers. The next thing we're going to build is our storage system. So you're going to take a chest and place a double chest down below. You're going to place a chute on top of that, and then you're going to place a portable storage interface on top of that, facing towards the farm. So one thing you want to keep in mind is you want to make sure that this portable storage interface is level with one another, and that there are at least 1 block of space between them. The last thing you're going to do with this farm is stick a lever on it, flick it, and watch it go to work. Now, you can leave this on while you're working at your base. If you want to turn it off because you're having frame drop issues with other stuff going on at your base, you definitely can. Just flick it on and off. The next farm is the rotational farm. So this one takes up the least amount of resources and is really good to start out early game. So this is all the material you're going to need for this farm. Now, if you're just starting out with the Create mod and you don't know what some of these are, let's walk through it. So this one's the portable storage interface. This is what we used on the last farm. We're going to need a chute. We're going to need a mechanical bearing. We're going to need harvesters. We're going to need an encased fan. And we're going to need super glue to hold it all together. So take your screenshot now so you have the material list. What you're going to do is you're going to start out at that center block that we have hollowed out. You're going to go 4 blocks in either direction, and you're going to make it 5 wide. And then you're going to place 1 more dirt block on each of those corners right there. And then you're going to surround that entire dirt circle with a block of your choice. I used oak logs. So you're going to go to this middle block right here, and you're going to dig 2 more down. You're going to place a magma block, and then you're going to crouch and place an encased fan right there. You want to make sure that this little shaft right here is sticking upwards. Next up, you're going to place your mechanical bearing on top of that. And then you're going to dig out the sides right here. And you're going to place stairs on either side. And then you're going to dig 1 down right here and place a lever. After we place our lever, we're going to fill these stairs full of water. And then we're going to plow this entire dirt area. Once you're done plowing, you're going to plant your seeds. You can use whatever seed that you want for this farm. I'm going to be using wheat. So before we place any blocks down, we need to make sure that we're placing them in the correct direction. So what we're going to do is place any random block on top of this mechanical bearing, and then we're going to flip the switch. So it's rotating counterclockwise, so we got to make sure that we have our harvesters rotating counterclockwise. Now for this part, a lot of people, again, use linear chassis. Linear chassis are very expensive. We don't want to use linear chassis, especially if this is an early game farm. So we are going to use stone blocks. You can use oak, you can use dirt, you can use cobble. As long as it's a full block, you're able to use it. As long as you make sure everything's super glued down, it's going to work out for you. So we're going to go out 5 blocks, and we're going to make sure that we don't have any sort of seeds in the way. And since we're rotating counterclockwise, we need to make sure it's on this side, so that way it's actually harvesting and replanting the way we need it to. So we're going to lay super glue down here and place our harvesters. Again, we need to make sure we get rid of our seeds right here, so that way it actually works. To the top of this, we're going to add a portable storage interface, and we're going to make sure it's facing outside the farm. And then we're going to also add a chest, and our chest is going to go on top of here. Again, make sure it's super glued down. Last thing we need to do is make our storage system. So we're going to place a chest down, 1 block space in between the edge of the farm. We're going to place a double chest down. We're going to place a chute on top of that, and then a portable storage interface facing towards the farm. You want to make sure that you do it on one of these flat sides right here. The next thing we're going to do is flip our farm on, and then we're going to till the land that was ruined when this started rotating. We're going to replant our seeds, and just like that, our farm will be done. Again, this farm is great for early game because it uses minimal resources. The only thing you have to craft is the portable storage interface, the mechanical harvesters, and the mechanical bearing. Alright guys, so before we start, there is a million different ways to do this. So if you do this slightly different, but you still get the same outcome, that is awesome. And I want you to let me know in the comments what you did below, because we are an encouraging community. So I'm going to show you my way of putting this together. If you want to put your own spin on it, definitely do so. You are encouraged to do so. But to get started, we are going to go out over here, out pretty far away from those guys. We're going to place 2 random blocks, doesn't matter what they are. I happen to have oak logs in my inventory. On top of that oak log, we're going to place a vertical shaft. And on top of that, I'm going to place a windmill bearing. On top of that windmill bearing, I'm going to place another random block. Again, I have oak in my inventory. Then you're going to place your sails down. So if you're very new to windmills in Minecraft, create mod, just know that the more sails you put on, the faster it's going to spin. So if you want to use a different design, you definitely can. If you want to make it look like an actual real-life windmill, you definitely can. But for the sake of my builds and how I'm going to be placing my farms and having it powered from this windmill, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what works best for me. So once you got your windmill assembled, you're going to count 16 blocks from this guy right here. And you are going to place a vertical gearbox on top of a temporary block. And you want to make sure that this flat wood part is facing towards the windmill. On top of that, you're going to place another vertical shaft, and then you're going to take a mechanical belt, right click on this shaft, and drag it over to this one. And it should look something like this. Before we place our cogwheels, we want to go ahead and turn our windmill on. To turn a windmill on, all you have to do is right click onto the bearing. There we go. So our first cogwheel is going to be a large cogwheel, and then we're going to attach a small one to it, a big one onto that small one, and then a small one right below this guy. So it looks like an upside down Mickey Mouse. You're going to place 2 shafts on these 2 small guys right here, and you're going to attach them via a mechanical belt. To this belt, you're going to add a large cogwheel right there, and then you're going to add 2 more smaller ones right next to it. So like that. To this guy, you're going to add 1 more shaft, and you're going to place a gear shift right next to it. To this guy right here, we're going to be adding another large cogwheel and a smaller one on top of that. And then to this smaller one, we're going to be adding a larger one. And then we're going to be adding a smaller one bottom right here. To this small guy, we're going to attach a shaft. And then we are going to put our back facing where we want our farm to go. And we're going to put a sticky mechanical piston. So when you place this down, you should be reading at 512 SU. If it's anything less than that, this farm will not work. So if you're messing around having your own design with these cogwheels, just make sure that this output is 512 SU for this farm design. The next part of our build is to build the actual farmland. So you're going to build it 8 wide by 12 long. So you can make this go out in this direction as far as you want, as long as the length doesn't exceed 12. If it goes any more than 12, it's not going to work and it's going to break up the land. So you want to place your stairs exactly how I have them and fill the waters just as we did with the other 2 farms. But this is how you're going to set it up. So once you place your seeds, you're going to start actually assembling the farm portion of this. So you're going to place a linear chassis on this mechanical sticky piston. I know I said before that, you know, linear chassis are kind of expensive. They are, but for this build and for how you can make storage systems for this later on down the line, this is the best way to go about this, is linear chassis. So to these linear chassis, you're going to add super glue to this, and then you're going to place your mechanical harvesters down. And then to the top of this, not the side or to the back, the top, you're going to place 2 more dabs of super glue and then a double chest. Last 2 things we need to do is add our piston extension poles. So if you have your goggles on, it's going to tell you your pole length. The length of our farm is 12, so we want to go out 12. And then we want to go out an extra 2 because of how we have the wood set up. Is there's a block right there and a block on the end, so that adds 2 more to the pole. Next, we're going to go to this gear shift right here, and we are going to place a block, doesn't matter what it is, in front of it. And then we're going to place redstone dust on the top. If you don't place redstone dust on top of here, it will not work. So you're going to place redstone dust going down this way, and then behind it and underneath right there. All right, so your redstone should look something like that. Now you're going to stand right here. You're going to get your comparator, and you're going to place 2 comparators facing away from the farm. And then you're going to spin back around and place 2 comparators facing towards the farm. You're going to place 2 more pieces of redstone dust right here, and then a button. And then when you press the button, your farm's going to start working. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, we'll see you later.